Hey everyone, Vintage Fan Collector here. What you're looking at is my 2002 Casablanca Panama II with Advan Touch in the 4-blade configuration. Finally got around to putting this with 4 blades for a video, although I might leave it like this for a bit just to enjoy. I did and still do quite enjoy the 5-blade configuration, as it is childhood to me and more what you see on Panamas, but I don't have a brain stroke or an aneurysm when I see 4 blades on a fan like this, so this is perfectly fine to me and I like it a lot. But I just wanted to get some kind of video out there while I'm now more free to make fan videos, and I thought it'd be fun to throw this thing up with 4 blades, since I didn't do that at my old house. So we'll go ahead and start off with the light kit here. Nothing, of course, has changed with that. I just like to demonstrate the whole fan in case this is the first video somebody is seeing of this fan. And, of course, behind or inside this fan is Casablanca's venerable XLP 2000 stack motor, the very first and only motor that they made on their own. But unfortunately with that, because they were owned by Hunter when this came out, means that this fan it's actually made in Taiwan and not America, like the old ones used to be. So, despite that, it actually has a pretty good quality for what it was. I do think that these were a little overpriced for that fact at the time, but why should I care when this one was like $20 on Marketplace, you know? 24 years later. So anyways, we'll go ahead and start the fan off on speed 1, which is the lowest setting. This fan also features a 16-degree blade pitch, and this was Casablanca's very first seamless housing fan for their traditional lineup. The modern style fans, they had some kind of seamless hardware in a way with the badge blades and such before this, but as you can see, the blade arms have no screw holes of any kind. They don't show the screws, and the housing also does not have any kind of screw holes. So that was introduced in 2000 for the new millennium. Ooh, and the beginning of the 21st century. It is funny, though, that it took Casablanca that long to do all this, because companies like Craft-Made were actually doing the seamless hardware blade arms as early as 1994. Actually, I think even earlier than that, but around 94 or so is when they started doing that. And seamless housings for Craft-Mades were found as early as 97. That's just one example. I think there were others, like Quorum, I believe, had the blade arms like that, and several other companies at the time. Anyways, here's speed 2. I don't know why I did that, but, you know, whatever. For some reason, one blade does appear higher, and I thought it was the blade arm, but it turns out it's just the flywheel. I guess it was doing that with 5 blades, and I happen to think that I just didn't remove that one bent arm, but it's not the arm, it's the flywheel. I apologize about the background noise. The street that I live off of is very busy, and I don't have, you know, high quality sound deadening windows, but when the shades are up, they do block a lot of that noise. It's a lot better. Of course, it doesn't block everything, but it's much better than it was. But so I can have some nice natural light, I did pull them down a bit. Here is speed 3. One nice thing, well, among others, about this fan is it does still have great bearings all these years later, which was somewhat of an issue with these XLP motors. The bearings weren't as high quality as the other stuff, which isn't saying much, because in the early to mid 80s the K55 bearings were honestly garbage as well. But they kind of I kind of went back to a little bit worse bearings, but compared to the Emerson fans of the same time period using the K55XL motor, which was also a Chinese or Taiwanese motor, I believe. Emerson opened up a factory out there to make those. Those bearings are way worse than the XLP stuff. So comparatively to other fans that these would have been, cross-shopped and competed with at the time, these were still better in pretty much every way, at least in the stack motor category. Craftmade had better bearings than both, but the downside with that is once the bearings do finally go bad, you can't replace them as easily without potentially damaging the bearing seat. It's really like a 50-50 shot whether you can get a spinner motor bearing out without ruining the bearing seat, because they are not intended to ever really be repaired. They're made to be disposable, unfortunately. But these are made to be repaired. So, while I do love my large spinner motor fans, I generally like to gravitate to having more stack motor fans due to the fact that I can continue to repair these down the road and use them while some of the other fans will have already been, seized up or whatever. Here is speed 4. I have really enjoyed having this fan in my room, especially the remote. I must say that's probably my favorite feature about it, and the fact that it's a Panama, which I love. I think this will still be, or is still, my favorite fan of all time. I know it's kind of a basic fan, but it came in a ton of finishes, and I don't know, there's just something about it. I think it's really because I grew up with Panamas in my house, and it's very nostalgic. It was the very first ceiling fan I ever saw, for that matter, so that kind of sets the precedent, and the IntelliTouch system itself is probably the main reason I even like ceiling fans, just because as a little baby, a fan that beeped like that and did all those things from a wall switch is, it's just fascinating. It still kind of is fascinating to me, even though I know exactly how it works now. And here is speed 5. I'd love to have a Comfort Touch Panama of some sort. I've seen them in the wild plenty, but they are considerably rarer because they literally were about $1,200 back in the day. And that's a lot of money for the early 2000s and the late 90s and so forth, and into the early 90s. That's absurd, actually, to be honest. I think the Advan Touch stuff was cheaper, but still obviously more expensive than the IntelliTouch, and they started offering these in 3-speed, overall, because there was a Home Depot 3-speed variant that existed for a little bit, and I think one other showroom might have got that, but nationwide 3-speed Panamas were not a thing until around 2000, when they turned it into the Panama II. And then later they also offered a 4-speed version and the XTR 200 by 25, I believe, millimeter spinner motor variant with the crazy 20-degree blade pitch. Actually, it would be kind of funny to get a set of those arms and put them on a stack motor version and see what it does. I'm sure it will be pretty slow, but here is speed 6, or high. Another interesting observation I have with this versus the other XLP Panamas that I do have, that I've tested, because there's a couple I haven't even hooked up to power yet. The 3-speed models I've got, just with the 4-blade configuration, goes slower on high speed than this thing does with 5 blades. Obviously with 4 blades this goes a bit faster and moves a bit more air because it has less drag. But for whatever reason the 3-speed versions were not tuned as fast, or they just both happen to have bad capacitors. But I think even in customers' homes I've seen I've always noticed that they only go about 190 to 195 RPM. This thing exceeds 200 by quite a bit. I would say with 5 blades it was going about 215 or so RPM, and this is probably like 220, 225 here. And for a 16 degree blade pitch, that is absolutely no slouch, because most 16 degree blade pitch fans in general don't exceed 200 RPM or get right about there. For comparison, the Concord Madison in my dad's room goes like 180 maybe on high speed, which there could be something else wrong with that fan, or that's just what it's supposed to do. I don't know. Replaced capacitor and it went only a little bit faster than it was going before, so I'm not sure what's up with that fan. But this thing has genuinely impressed me quite a bit, and I really wish I had purchased the other one of these, because there were 2 on Marketplace by the same seller, and the other one popped up later, and I didn't go get it, and I really regret that, because I could have had a dual install of these in my living area here at this house. That would have been really neat. But you know, things happen. It's obviously somebody bought it, I don't know who, and I'm sure probably just a regular person, maybe one of the unknown local collectors here, I have no clue. But regardless, I missed out on that, and I'm not sure if I'll ever find another one, because finding Advantouch Panamas has also been really hard, for whatever reason. So I have seen them, but it seems that nobody wants to get rid of them, because they also are very reliable. The IntelliTouch fans were the worst in terms of reliability, just because they intentionally did not make them stronger against voltage spikes and so forth, and surges. So I'll go ahead and turn this off. But the ComfortTouch and Advantouch boards, which were of course more expensive, actually have a special coil on the board to protect from surges, which is what a lot of high-end electronics in general have, to, you know, be stronger and more reliable no matter what your power situation happens to be. But IntelliTouch was honestly flawed from the beginning in one sense, and they chose not to replace it because it was making them so much money in repairs, because Casablanca used to make a ton of money on service from both the company and with dealers doing the work too, but they made the money in their parts. But there was a period of time before the service network existed, or the authorized dealer network and authorized service center network, where Casablanca would actually send out their own people to your house to, you know, file or do warranty replacements and to repair the fans in general. And they made a killing off that for a long time, but the Hunter Blanca, you know, merging of everything kind of slowly killed that off. And while I was still working at the showroom, I believe it was 2020 actually, is when Casablanca officially disbanded that and stopped supporting pretty much all their old fans. They quit production. They quit production of the IT3 parts. They quit production of the flywheels soon after. They quit production of the XLP 2000 motors afterwards, and any other parts that they may have still had for these legacy Casablanca products. So, unfortunately, IntelliTouch is unreliable, mainly because it used to be their moneymaker in service. These, however, were not that way, and I guess they still got their money by charging a lot more for the fans, when I don't think it actually cost them any more to really design and make those boards. I really don't think they did. I could be wrong, but looking at how the boards are designed, they share most of the parts from IntelliTouch boards. They just have a couple of additional things, of course, to make them a remote control board, and they have that surge protection coil as well. And I remember learning from old Casablanca reps back when I used to be a part of the industry that the inventor of the ComfortTouch board actually asked them if they would let him put that same coil on the IntelliTouch boards, and they literally told him no, because we make so much money in replacements of these boards we don't want to do that. So they intentionally did not improve IntelliTouch to that standpoint of actually withstanding any kind of surges or whatever, just so they could keep replacing them. So while I love the brand Casablanca, there was a lot of shady-ish practices that were occurring, and they weren't always as insanely well made in some respects as they could be. This fan here doesn't even use, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't use the same finish plating process as the older ones did, yet it still commanded, I want to say, $500 to $600 when this fan was new. Of course, with AdvanTouch it probably was about $700 to $800. I'd have to look at my price sheets again and see what they charged for these. But it was a lot. So that explains the rarity of them. And IntelliTouch was just, the cheapest way to not have a pull chain. And so everybody just chose that because in the beginning it made sense. But then down the line, when the warranty's gone and they need to get a new board or whatever, which that also varied. Not everywhere had IntelliTouch failures. It's not a complete guaranteed always going to fail system. It's very random in how it fails. So you just never know what you're going to get. Anyways, I'm rambling on about stuff like that I used to, always do. But all that to say that I'm a little bummed I didn't get the other one, and I am happy that I at least have this one. And I also really like the 4-blade configuration, but I will probably end up putting this back to 5 blades, or I might just replace this fan. I would like to install some of my other fans to make it a little bit more justifiable for having them, so I've got a couple of ideas in mind from different brands that I happen to have, and I might just swap it out. Now that I'm less busy, I have less of an issue doing that. So that's why this video is even out, is because I happen to have enough free time to do this. So anyways, that's really all I have to say. I will hopefully have more videos coming out soon enough, including actual testing videos in the garage finally. I just need to get that area kind of prepared for that, but I'm excited. I hope to also be collaborating with a couple of other local collectors like I used to, including somebody I've never collaborated with, John Wood, either doing videos at his place or here at my house for different things. It would be nice to get some CFM ratings of some of my fans too with his method that he uses. I think that'd be a fun little addition to the channel as I move back on my earlier in the year statement of I'm not really going to make a lot of videos. Life just kind of changed to where maybe I'm okay with doing that for a bit, at least to help me sell fans. So anyways, enough of me rambling. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and thanks again for watching. I should be uploading more very soon.